Good day. I'm Mike James, and this is Parkitect Pre-Alpha 9. The new release came out last week. There's a whole lot going on in this new release. So many things that hit me right in the I love it spot. You know, every time they release a new version, they make some changes and some improvements, and I'm almost always happy with the changes they make. But this month, wow. Added a ride, but look at number 2 here. Added general purpose blueprints. Blueprints are ways for you to save not just your ride, but scenery. And you can save a ride and scenery, or you can just save scenery. So now, when I make my buildings, or you make your buildings, you can save them and put them anywhere you want in any park. That's amazing. You know, before I'd make a building, but I always was kind of sad when I was making the building because I knew it was just going to be in this one park, in this one space. And if something changed and I wanted to change something, I was done. There was no way to move it. I had to rebuild the entire thing. Now, there are some other things. You can rename people, added options for hiding paths and attractions. Basically, when you're looking at your park, you can click things to make them invisible so you can see through them. That's very helpful sometimes. There's a couple items they made so you can recolor them that you couldn't before. They balanced some things on the excitement rating of rides, some of which still have a couple bugs. I saw one of the users made a dark ride, which is one of those really slow rides like the haunted house at Disney. And it had an excitement rate of like 12,000 or something. And I told him it must be that 2.5-foot drop because there's some bug making it. Basically, a lot of great things have been added, but the big thing is in making buildings. Let's get into it and let me show you some of the things I'm most excited about. Parkitect, doesn't it? Don't you love that bounce when I try to move? That's the free move mod I've got. It's gets a little overwhelmed if I move my mouse too quick. So everything looks the same here, except here is your blueprint button. That is the button where you can save, load blueprints. You can download them off Parkitect Next to share them with everybody as well. Here we go. Let's just take a look at one of the big, I guess we're going to call it quality of life improvements that was made to the game and how you build things. Here's a regular wall. Just click it down, spacebar to rotate, just like always, right? Go up to the second level. Look, I'm not holding anything. It stays at the height I leave it at, making buildings so much easier to build. You could just click, 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 and you're always right at the same height. Now, as soon as you choose something new, different kind of wall, it goes right back to the bottom. But that doesn't matter. You could just so much more quickly make a building now because you don't have to sit there and move it, shift up, move it, shift up, move it, shift up. It was, I hadn't asked for it, but I knew it probably because I knew it would come because Roller Coaster Tycoon had added it fairly early where you could just, I think you had to hold shift to maintain the height and you could just scroll across. One other thing they did add is fences are now raisable. I'm not sure if hedges are raisable. No, hedges aren't raisable, but fences are, even though hedges are under fence. Hey guys, come on. But if you put a fence down, you can now raise a fence. Makes it really neat because this means that you can go ahead and you can make, now they still have that weird snap. Because as you recall, fences you can click along a path and just drag a fence. You can do that now. That'd be neat for walls, but it's not critical. But because you can raise them, that means you can put fences on second stories of buildings and things and just use them to make a little more variety in your games. They also, when you put down a ride now, there's an option where you can choose the type of fence on that ride. Now, it doesn't work for me. Not sure why. It's in the release notes, but when I try to do it, it must conflict with one of my other mods. But you're supposed to be able to remove the fences and change the fences. I haven't been able to get it to work. I should really try it out in vanilla and see if it works for me at all. Not sure exactly what the reason it's not working is, but that is something that they're working on, where you're going to be able to remove the fences from rides, making it a little easier for you to theme the ride itself instead of covering up the fences. Not critical for me. I'm not really super worried about it, but it is a little frustrating. I know if I click around on the music options, sometimes it'll change it to the spooky kind of fence. And of course, it's not going to do it when I'm recording a live video stream, but there you go. So that's those are the two things that don't include blueprints as far as buildings, but blueprints are amazing. One of the big things is when you're making a building, if you want to have, let's say, a tiled floor. Remember we made that tiled entrance a couple videos ago. Well, let's say you want a tiled floor in a building. One of the newer sets, the building set here, if you look, it has things just like path covers. It calls them roofs and floors, but it's just a path cover. And they're very small. Smaller than the other ones were. They're half the size of the other ones. You can make something a lot more detailed, a lot more tile-like. But one of the problems is, look how long it takes just to fill up one square. And if you have a building that's 4 by 5, you're going to be here for a few minutes, putting it down and then coloring it. And then once you're done coloring it, you're going to have to go ahead and you're going to have to pick another square and color that one, and pick another square and color that one. But with this, I could just go through here, color my squares. Now this looks like poo-poo because I'm just clicking random stuff here. But you make all the colors you want, do it however you feel looks best. And for some reason it didn't pick up that one. So let's say you like this. I don't, but let's say you did. Now all you have to do, why is it still showing green? Oh, I'm probably on the second color. I was on the wrong color. No wonder I'm a bozo. So we click here. You click on the blueprint button down here. Click here. I think this is for single selection. This is for multiple selection. But you can drag, and look at that. You've got that selected. You hit create. You name it, and now it's going to be in your list here. I made one for a building I made. It's kind of a pastels pattern. Just pick it, plop it down. Pick it again. Now, I wish it stayed with you and you could plot multiples. I understand why they didn't do that. That's generally not what it's for. It's generally for saving entire buildings or something, so you're not going to want to, keep putting down the same building in general. And of course, you can move them. You can turn them. But look how quickly you could put down this floor that would have taken me probably hours if it was a real big building, but at least a half hour or so. That's just amazing, isn't it? It's just really neat. That's one of the uses for blueprints. Kind of falls outside the purview of what they probably intended the blueprints to be used for. Maybe they knew it was going to be used for that. It wasn't advertised, so to speak. I know we talked about it like that I heard, but that is one of the big advantages, is you can make a pattern and then just plop it down over and over again. Let me show you one of the blueprints I've designed. Where is my coffee shop? I'm going to do another video about making this coffee shop. But one thing I wanted to show you is that this coffee shop has walls that are alternating stripes, like another coffee shop you might have heard of. And the great thing about that is I used the walls from the building set right here. And these walls are two-sided. Each wall has a light color and a dark color as a default. And when you color them, so you have a primary color and a secondary color. This one's going to be dark green. I'm pointing at the screen. this one's going to be dark green, and this one's going to be more of a yellow. Because on the opposite side, the yellow one's the green, and the other one's the yellow. And what you can do is when you're making this building, I made it using these walls here. And because they're two-sided, I can put it down, flip it, put it down, flip it. It's a little more work when you're building the actual building itself, when you're making the building itself. It takes a few more minutes because you're constantly flipping it and having to realign it instead of just dragging and plopping it down. But what that means is that when you save it as a blueprint, it doesn't always have to be this color, and you could just quickly click and drag and change the colors. And you can make it whatever you want and just click and drag and make the colors work for you. See how easy that is to recolor? Probably looks better on the other side, but there is no, having to click, estimate the next one, click, and it just makes the building recoloring a lot easier. And with the new blueprints, you can just save this whole building. Click on the blueprint, click on the drag and drop, click here, drag. It didn't quite get the roof. You might not be able to tell, but anytime you have a taller structure, you hold shift, pull that block up, and then click and drag again. Now you can see it got the whole thing. Hit create, pop-up box comes, you save the name. You can put it right here, and anytime you want to use that building, you can just plop it right down. Same thing with my restrooms. Now you might notice I have to lower the buildings down. If there's anything in the building that's a little bit below ground, you have to go ahead and you have to, oh, that looks just perfect in purple, doesn't it? Still have my paintbrush. You have to lower it down because if anything's below ground, by default, when you put the blueprint down, it's going to rest the lowest part at ground level. Because I lower some things down in most of my buildings to make them half height or something. That's something, it's real simple though. It's not a big deal. But just using this blueprint, once you make a building, you can just go ahead, find it in your list of things. Here's a hotel I made. Plop it right down. Look at that. Beautiful. The wall is, there was a wall there, remember? I didn't delete it. Get out of here. So anyway, I didn't mind spending, 45 minutes or an hour making this. I put little bars over all the windows. I adjusted some of the scenery, and I didn't mind doing it because I knew I could just put it down in any of my parks now. I have in the design contest going on at Parkitect Nexus, I have this. This is my arcade. Get the right arcade sign. There you go. Look at that. This is where I use those tiles. You'll also notice I made little arcade machines. They're just made out of small pieces of wall and a door frame. They're not hyper realistic, but for what you're going to see from the outside, they look really good in my opinion. And I didn't have a problem making. There's probably 30 of them in that building. Not a problem. I made a design, saved it. The design has two because the designs, if you notice, they always go to the most even square. You can't make them in between squares because they're made to be buildings or rides. They have to fit on the grid. So I made two so they would fit side by side and look really good. And then I just plopped them down in the building over and over. It took just a few minutes. And of course, you notice I have the banners. These are not banners, billboards. These are billboards. Made some custom graphics for them in Photoshop. Helps if you're good at Photoshop with those billboards. Tried to make them look like neon. I think I did an okay job. I'm going to have another video coming out right away with this coffee box, how I built that, just to give you an idea of how that got made. But tell me what you think about pre-alpha 9. A couple small changes, more peeps come in. Yeah, it's really neat. I've got my coffee box, got my restroom, got my arcade. Now, none of the machines are functional, but that doesn't matter. I think this just looks amazing. This is going to make these buildings and structures and everything it's going to be amazing. Tell me what you think. Send me an email, mikethinks@gmail.com, or leave a comment down below. I appreciate all the comments I've gotten. If you like the videos, please subscribe. Tell your friends to subscribe. You know, we love to get our viewers. I love helping people out with these parks and how to make things just look that much better. I'm Mike James, and until next time, I hope each and every one of you has a good one.